Hi guys, Roland from the Chicago Synth Exchange here today. Today we're going to be talking about 5 synths under 500 bucks. And this is kind of like what I would recommend to people for different purposes. So let's jump in, let's talk about each one a little bit, and then let's demo them out. So the first synth that we're going to be talking about today is the Moog Mavis. The Moog Mavis is a monophonic analog synth voice, but it offers a lot of concepts that Moog was never really employed back in the day, such as like wavefolding, which was kind of made by their competitor back on the West Coast on Buchla, so they included that little function over here in this subtractive synth layout, which makes it very easy to understand. And I can't not mention the semi-modular aspect of it. So it's very good if you're trying to get into the Eurorack world or the semi-modular world, or if you're trying to get into their whole ecosystem with the semi-modular stuff. This is the best way to start because it's 350 bucks. Can't really say much else about it. Let's just go and listen to how it sounds. The next one we're going to be talking about is the Arturia MicroFreak. This guy is a little avant-garde in its design. It sports a wavetable oscillator also going through an analog filter, and it has pressure-sensitive keys which are quite unique, so you can access some aftertouch on it, and it just doesn't feel normal, so you'll just yield weirder results just by experimenting with this. Definitely something that if you're trying to do like weird atmospheric stuff, which is kind of how I like to use this, it does it amazingly. And it also is a 4-note paraphonic synth. Not polyphonic, paraphonic. A little different, but if you're trying to play chords, this can do that. So the next synth we're going to be talking about is one that's been loved for a very long time, the Korg MicroKorg. So this is kind of interesting because it's everybody's first synth that does more than just like a standard analog synth. It sports a virtual analog engine. It also has a vocoder on it, and it has a lot of patch storage. You can get a lot of interesting sounds out of it, and this is a very good option for someone that's just trying to gig and they need something that's relatively simple. You have all of your patches over here. Just choose what you want. If you need to adjust the filter, it's right here. It's been used live, tons of great albums done with it. Typically this goes for $500 brand new. It's pretty much a bargain considering that it has a vocoder and this analog synth engine, because there's a lot of stuff that is a lot more expensive that has a vocoder on it, and it's not that readily available. So definitely check it out. Next one, we're going to talk about an homage to probably my favorite 2 synths of all time, the JU-06A. This is Roland's boutique variant of the Juno 60 and the 106. You get 4 voices of polyphony, and you get the exact same panel design of the 60 on here, but you also have this little switch over here that switches to the 106. So when you're in 106 mode, you obviously have the bass boost and the high pass filter. So for like basses, this has been used for like underground house and a lot of like underground techno as well, and back in the 90s. And then if you want to go back to the JU-06A, you can do that, and you have the pulse width to envelope modulation, which is something that the 60s is revered for, and you have both choruses emulated just fine over here. So this is a digital recreation of these. Really good for starting off, generally for people starting to get into synthesis, because what you see on this panel is all that you get, and this is something I've heard everybody that's obsessed with the Juno say, including me. It's impossible to get a bad sound out of this. Like, it's virtually impossible. It's a very musical synth. This is one that I always recommend to people, and they always love it. It really helps them learn how synths work. Sweet, so now at $500, we're going to talk about another Roland boutique, the SEO2. This is a collaboration between them and Studio Electronics, who was also well known in the 90s for making a lot of mini Moog inspired synths, and in this case they collaborated with Roland to kind of bring some of their visions back to life as well. So this panel over here, if you know anything about synths, you know exactly what this is inspired by. It's inspired by the synth that made everything else possible, right? What you have is 3 oscillators. You have cross-mod, which is something that the original version did not have. The standard mixer with feedback on here as well, which you can get some gnarly sounds out of it. And the standard ladder filter, as I'm gonna say, or it's a filter that's designed to be like the ladder filter. And you have a way more elaborate LFO on here that goes way faster, and you have reverse saw, you have a sine, you have sample and hold, well, different sample and hold functions. You have pulse on here as well, something that the original just didn't have, and allows you to take that sound design process a lot further and yield timbres that are truly unique to this. And you have a delay on here as well. And everything in the audio path, right, such as the oscillators, the mixer, and the filter, these are all, you know, VCO, VCA, VCF. So this is an analog sound path for sure. So this is kind of like getting the real thing for $500, especially if you know what this is inspired by. It's nothing else is at this price point that goes beyond like the original design and allows you to take that design further. So who is this for? People that need that vintage ladder filter sound that everybody really knows, and you want to have the controls of the original, and you want to have more modern control over it, such as, you know, MIDI, who doesn't want that, but also having a way better LFO and some onboard effects, and cross mod, which you could get very FM-like tones out of it. You won't get that out of the original, so this is definitely for somebody that wants to have that sound, doesn't want to spend upward to $10,000 on a vintage unit, and it sounds pretty good, if I must say so myself. I was actually very surprised when I tried it for the first time. Definitely very underrated, and I would like to see a lot more people use this, because again, people that brought this to their attention. They're like, oh my God, this thing sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah. And then they get it, and they end up making some very nice bassy stuff out of it and some very silky smooth leads, which is kind of what the original was known for, and you can take it further, again, with that LFO and cross mod. So absolutely, definitely recommend this. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You guys know the drill. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at the Chicago Music Exchange. As for me, I'm Roland in the Chicago Synth Exchange, which is our synth division of the shop. I'll be more than happy to assist you guys in terms of making any choice for your synth needs. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more synth content for sure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.